fun, man. I cannot wait to watch you guys play.
Coming to you from the My Michigan TV studios.
We're going to kick you in the teeth.
It's the Roar Live.
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
With hosts, Michigan High School Hall of Fame head coach, Tony Blankenship.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
The outsider, Scotty William, and Corey Tiez.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
Hello and welcome to the Roar Live right here on My Michigan TV, Facebook, YouTube, and beyond. I am your host, Scotty William, alongside Michigan High School Hall of Fame head coach Tony Blankenship and the agitator and Cowboy fan himself, Corey Tiez. The Roar Live is your streaming choice for Detroit Lions coverage and commentary from fans like you and this panel all season long. On today's show, the question of the week is this: what is your all-time most memorable Cowboys versus Lions moment? Corey will have a tell it like it is, and we'll have Tony's takeaways and scoring highlights in this week 6. We will also talk NFC North standings and game updates. We will take a look around the league and answer questions and comments from the Roar chat. And because this show is all about you, the fan, we would love for you to get your Zoom on and join us on the show today. It's easy. Just scan the QR code on the screen and follow the link and get ready to bring it. That's right. Get ready to bring it. Well, guys, what did you feel about this game before we go into the highlights? What was your opinion, all-time opinion on this?
Dallas, I feel like I'm switching roles with Corey. Dallas is trash. They're terrible. I mean, they look horrible today. They look really, really bad. And look, in all seriousness, they didn't come to play. They weren't prepared. They weren't coached at a high level to go in and play a game at this level. And it was very obvious. The Lions had a week off to prepare, an extra week, which was always a good thing, and it showed. At the same time, that coaching staff from the Dallas Cowboys and those players from the Cowboys, it's unacceptable to come and play football like that at home the way they did today. So that's all I have to say about that.
What about you, Cole? As a Cowboy fan.
Yeah, that doesn't – I'm not going to stray away from that. I'm always going to be a Cowboy fan. They look terrible. I don't want to hear anything about the excuses about they didn't have players. I don't want to hear that. They didn't come prepared. They quit in the first quarter. The body language, CD and Dak go through their thing. They just didn't look prepped. Like, I was shocked that they beat the Steelers. Same team that they brought out this week, they just looked bad. They looked unprepared. They didn't look like they didn't want to be there. Blank and I spoke on that. They just didn't look – Dak had a look in his eye that he didn't look comfortable. And the Lions did what they were supposed to do coming off a bye, take care of business, and they kept their foot on the gas. You got to give them credit for that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to delve into the Week 6 highlights. And, of course, Lions, we could have had a million highlights, but we'll start off with this one. It was a long pass from Jared Goff to Tim Patrick. As you know, Tim Patrick, we got off the waiver wire from the Broncos, and he makes this amazing catch to put him into the red zone to set up for a David Montgomery for his 5th touchdown run of the year. I mean, he is something else running. Well, how did you feel about this, Tony?
Again, having a third receiver and having a young man that's out there giving them an extra lift is important.
Yeah.
And That young man did a really good job catching the football and getting the Lions going early. And obviously, David Montgomery is being the beast that he's been all season.
Yeah.
I would say that Montgomery and Gibbs is pretty much what Dallas is lacking in offense.
Absolutely.
A run game.
Absolutely.
And you can see here just how good David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are this year.
Yeah.
And it's full steam ahead for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Lions would then pick off pick off Dak Prescott. It was a Brian Branch interception in the end zone. That would have been his second one had one was not called back earlier in the first quarter. That would lead to a Jake Bates 40-yard field goal play.
Your guy.
And Mr. Big Leg himself through the uprights, 40 yards for a field goal. The Lions would keep it going on this trickery. A toss to Montgomery, to St. Brown, back to Goff, and a TD to Sam Laporta. That was his first TD of the year, guys. It looks like he's starting to heat up. What do you think, Tony?
Again, Lions seem to have a plethora of trick plays, and they are showing them. They're showing them all. Yeah. You know, they're showing them all. So you got a chance to see another trick play. But I think the purpose of the trick play this time was get Laporta the football.
Yeah.
They haven't been able to give him the ball in any normal stances and any normal situations so far. So they found a way to give him the ball.
Yeah.
What'd you think, Tim? Cole.
Yeah, I think getting Laporta involved is huge. You know, he needs to get the ball. He needs to have the ball. That way it opens everything else up for everyone else. You know, if the backs keep doing what they're doing, but getting Laporta, this play was good to get Laporta involved, get him a touchdown, and continue that. He's a big part of their offense.
Yeah.
The next highlight we have here is a Jake Bates 48-yard field goal. He has just been on fire from deep. 48-yard field goal for Jake Bates. Then David Montgomery once again in for his 6th touchdown right up the middle. 6 TD on the year, second of the game. That ended the half at 26-6. The second half started out with this Jameson Williams 37-yard pass from Jared Goff for his 3rd touchdown of the year. Cole, Jameson has been looking pretty good. And they really got creative with him today.
Yeah, you keep using him like that. Again, you can't teach speed. My thing with him has always been like, what kind of routes is he going to run? But he's electric. He's one of those players that if he gets involved, it seems like the team just takes off.
Tony, what did you think about Jameson today?
This, to me, was a microcosm of what the Dallas Cowboys were today. They weren't prepared on this play. Detroit came out, hurry up, quick snap, hurry snap, and they caught him unprepared. The defense wasn't prepared to defend it, and you got a guy, as Corey mentioned, who has blazing speed, and he's able to run a corner route and get open and score a touchdown.
Well, the game offensively for the Lions was really good today, but this next Aiden Hutchinson sack, but guys, this does not look good for the Lions on the defensive edge. Hutchinson went down. When you looked at the replay, he said he thought he broke his leg. He was carried out on a stretcher. How does this change the Lions defense, Tony?
Obviously, and prayers up for Aiden and the family. And you know, I don't care who you like, who you don't like, what teams you like. You don't ever want to see this happen to anybody. Football is a very, very physical game. I talk about it all the time. There's a war for attrition, but I hate to see this. Really, really disappointed that it's had to happen to him, obviously. And it's going to change some things for the Lions. They may have to look to make some trades. They may have to look to see if they can add somebody to help bolster that defense and keep it relevant when it comes to pass rush. They won't play Dallas every week. Right. Next week's opponent will definitely be difficult for them, and they're going to have to get some pass rush against that Minnesota team, and it's going to have to be a collective effort defensively. They're going to have to play well together.
We'll talk more about that Aiden Hutchinson injury later on in the show. Brian Branch, another INT. Dak Prescott just looked frazzled all day long. This is Branch's second TD of the game. Almost had 3. Almost taking it into the end zone. Corey, looking at Dak Prescott, what do you feel is his issue for the Cowboys?
I think preparation. The consistency of Dak bothers me. You know, you kind of never know which Dak you're going to get. We got to stick with him. He's the guy they just paid him. But I just think the quarterback play throughout the league is just not across the board consistent. And Dak, obviously today, he looked all over the place. His eyes looked spooked. I don't like, again, that's coaching. He looked like Kyler Murray against the Lions. Didn't look good at all.
As you see on the highlight, that led to this St. Brown touchdown, and the Lions kept on rolling. And then it was another Dak Prescott interception. And we'll talk more about Tony's takeaways on the offense and defense. So much to talk about in this game. But we have a Zoom caller. David Walker is on the line. And from what I'm told, he was a Cowboy fan. Now he's a Detroit Lions fan.
As a kid.
Give me the rundown on him.
He'll tell you. He'll tell you. Go ahead, Dave. Let him know.
Hey, Dave, thanks for joining us on the Roar tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is actually my most memorable Cowboys game. It just is, right? This is my most memorable. I think you guys are too thick into the analysis to realize how significant of an ass whipping this was from the Detroit Lions. And for me, knowing it coming to the game, and Blank, you need to take credit. I watched you last week. You said it. You said, I'd be surprised, Dave. I'd be surprised if they don't blow them out. And they did that. And they did it when everybody watching, everybody expecting it. And this is very memorable because it says that we're serious and we got to get ready for that bowl. And this was sending a clear message to the entire NFL, not only to the Cowboys. Let's go.
Dave, I know you're definitely a Lions fan, as you can tell with your excitement. What do you think about the Hutchinson injury? I mean, what do you think the Lions should do? I mean, that's gonna really affect them, especially going into next week against an NFC opponent in the Vikings.
It's definitely going to affect, but all of the DNA of Hutchinson is within this team. And you're going to have to rally around this. Hashtag Hutch Hustle, come up with something. But everything that guy did for the city of Detroit to get us to this point is within this team still. And each of those players got to rise up and find it in them and ask themselves, would Hutch quit on this play and start making a tackle? I actually thought they did pretty good after he went out in terms of recovering from that. So, but I think you got to just rally around that, man, because that's a tough thing. Like you said, nobody wants to see that. And so prayers to him and his family. I'm a big Michigan guy, so that affects me as well from that angle. And but he's a tough guy. He'll be back.
Do you have a player of the game, Dave?
Oh,
or players?
Wow, it was so well put together. I'm gonna give it to J-Mo just because every time that ball in the air and he was near it, everybody was holding their breath, and he showed what a dynamic player he could be. And it's scary how many. I think also the offensive coordinator gets. A co-game ball that he was calling all kind of stuff. I didn't even know what was going to happen next. I think Sewell got some tight end waggle or some weird thing. I was like, what is going on? So I was really impressed. And I thought the defense was getting there too. That's why I really would love to see Aiden stay in there and obviously stick with the team. But I thought the defense was really getting after it finally. A lot of holding. Look, the pass interference and the holding, I'm starting to believe is just a rounding error. Give up 5 instead of 30. I've been watching people give up 30 like crazy. So I just got to work on that. But I'm actually, one of the people like, hey, give up 5 instead of 30.
Dave, a close friend of mine, appreciate you coming on, brother. Can you give them a little bit of the history of you being a Dallas fan as a kid and then turning into a Detroit Lion fan?
Absolutely. So, growing up in the D, we had two teams on. You got Detroit and Dallas. And Dallas had, the running backs and Danny White and going to the NFC Championship game. And then, of course, Troy Aikman. And I think that I used to always go to the Lions game, to the Silverdome, in the sections of the bleachers where you had all the fights and stuff and buy those $5 bleacher tickets, And so, but you didn't really, you couldn't enjoy the NFL if you're only focusing in on the Lions. You got to have a backup. You just had to, and everybody had their backup. And mine was the Cowboys, and they played on Thanksgiving. But we got to a point where you watch the Lions, and my wife is a big Tom Brady's fan, and so it was easy to kind of say, all right, I'm going to follow the Patriots and keep the Lions in the sideline. And along the way, Dallas started having weird internal conflicts, let's say, with the owner. He started doing some things that really wasn't, I didn't really personally like the way an owner should act. And so I started, in the fan groups and stuff, started backing out. And then I went to a Super Bowl party and I saw a Philadelphia fan just start crying when Philadelphia won. And I said, who's going to make me cry? I said, Detroit will make me cry. So I bought season tickets the same day Aiden Hutchinson got drafted. I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but man, if they make it, I want to be there. And I bought season tickets, told my friends, and I said, I'm just going to let the Cowboys go. Got out of all the chat groups, told everybody you're leaving. They're like, you can't leave. I'm like, I do what I want. I'm out of here. I'm going to Detroit. I'm from Detroit. It's time to jump on. And if they're going to do it, I want to be there, and I don't want to be too late. And I'm not late. I'm ready to go.
Well, Dave, thanks for coming on with us today. Appreciate it. I hope you can come back on. We're here all season long, as you know.
Yeah, come
and
back.
we really appreciate your comments tonight. And you switched over to the Lions, which is good. Corey's been a Cowboy fan all of his life, and he's still sticking with the Cowboys. So, hey.
Yeah, I'm not I'm gonna jump. They always lose. They're 3-3. So I'm not. What I want to know is why. I'm trying to. What's the energy like when they win next week? Why is it so much energy against the Dallas? Why the Lions? They just can somebody explain that to me? Like you guys have been watching this all year.
I'll let you take this.
Look, first.
Why
of
is
all,
this such a big win?
Look, that's you.
I'm just asking.
That's you. That's just you. There's no energy. I'm not for either one in that way.
Okay.
So I don't have a dog in the fight in this particular situation. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like this is such a big deal. They beat the Dallas Cowboys.
That's what I'm saying.
But they destroyed you. They embarrassed you on national TV.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
And they almost scored 50 points.
Okay.
And your organization is getting ready to fall apart. And I'm saying this, and I mean this. What I saw today in Dak Prescott, he's done. He's been done for a while now because they never really wanted him. And I can see it in his face. I saw today for the first time that dude wants out. And watch what happens. They're going to go and get a young dude because that's what the NFL does. They're going to get a young quarterback next year, and they're going to bring a guy in, and probably Deion's son, and they're going to try to do what everybody else has been doing because the NFL is a copycat league, and that's what's getting ready to happen.
Okay.
Dak Prescott has checked out. Dallas may win 5 games this year.
Dave, tell Corey why this is such a big win for the Detroit Lions fan base.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Thanksgiving win. It means that people are going to turn on to watch the Lions for Thanksgiving before they watch the Cowboys. And that's just the way it is now. And I think it's significant, and I'm excited about it.
Well, yeah, they probably will because Lions will play first, and Dallas will play at 4. So that's how it always goes. So they'll watch the Lions first.
Nobody will be watching. Dallas will be 3-9.
Well, I don't know about that, but we'll see. I mean, we got a long season to go. But I appreciate the call.
Hey, yeah, and I'm not a Cowboys hater. I'm just a Lions lover, man. I just got here on a good day. That's all. Let's go, Lions. Let's worry about ourselves. Let's focus. All right. Good seeing you, Blake.
Good to see you, Dave. Thanks for coming
for
on,
coming
brother.
man.
Go Blue.
Appreciate that.
Go Blue.
Dave Walker on the Zoom call. You can get in on the Zoom call. You're watching the Roar Live right here on Michigan TV, Facebook, YouTube, and beyond. Call that Zoom QR code, and you can get in on the conversation just like Dave Walker. And you can join us after every Detroit Lions game this season as we talk Lion wins, Lion losses. It's getting good, fellas. I'm telling you. This season is getting good. Tony, looking at your takeaways for the Detroit Lions offense today, What is your big takeaway offensively for them?
Dave made a great point. Corey talked about it a little bit too. The offensive coordinator did an amazing job today of keeping Dallas really not in position to make stops. A lot of it did have to do with the fact you don't have your starters out there. That matters. We're not going to act like it doesn't. At the same time, Detroit was in such a groove, and it was obvious that he was in his bag today when it came to the feel that he had for the game as an OC and the calls he was making. And when you get into that situation as a guy calling the plays, me being on the defensive side of the ball, there's really nothing that I can do at that point. You can't stop the run, and you can't stop the pass, and you can't stop the trick plays. Then there's nothing that you can really do at that point. So I give it, to the offensive coordinator.
The offensive coordinator, but you were talking to me earlier today. David Montgomery, 2 touchdowns on the day. I think we have the highlights of these touchdowns on the screen coming up. David Montgomery up the middle, and he's just a force of nature. I mean, this guy is bullheaded. He's something exciting to watch. What do you think, Go?
Did I miss something in Chicago? Was he like this? I didn't see that in Chicago.
He had a decent season. He was kind of hurt in Chicago, but with most Detroit teams, I mean, you could even go into other sporting teams like the Tigers and the Red Wings. We seem to be able to find these guys that are coming off injuries and really making a difference for these Detroit ball clubs. And David Montgomery just signed a 2-year extension.
Yeah, when I think about him, he's hard to deal with, but what I think that makes him really good with the Lions is at the other back. I think the two-headed monster, Gibbs is. I think the both of them, that's the niche.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They like each other. They're friends. They don't worry about the carries, and they are playing to their strengths. Like you got to give them credit for the way they're running the ball.
Yep.
Like this is a two-headed monster that a lot of people don't want to deal with, So you got to give him because I didn't see this guy in Chicago. I didn't. Maybe I missed something. No, maybe the Chicago was so bad all the time, But this is very impressive what they're doing.
You made a comment before the show that you were very impressed with the tandem of, from what I have been told, they've been named Sonic and Knuckles. I don't know if I'm digging that tandem.
Yeah, peanut butter and jelly. I heard today.
Peanut butter and jelly.
Well, Sonic and Knuckles makes sense. You got a guy that's a physical runner downhill, and then you got a guy that's real quick and fast, like the Sonic character. So obviously, both of those guys are really special and really good at what they do.
Yeah, Blank. I mean, interrupt you, but to go off that, I think they both are good outside and inside.
Yeah.
I think Gibbs doesn't get enough credit for going inside.
Yeah.
But I think both of them can do.
David Montgomery is more of the inside tackle guy.
Yes.
He's a downhill runner.
Yes.
I don't believe he's a home run hitter.
Okay.
When I say home run, I mean 30-30 guy, a guy that can go 70 yards.
Yeah.
I believe he's not going to outrun anybody going 70 yards. I think Jahmyr Gibbs will outrun everybody running 70 yards, and I think that's the difference.
12 carries for 63 yards, 5.2 average.
Yep.
Montgomery, 12 carries for 80 yards, 6.7.
Yep.
I mean, it's looking good.
Yeah, that's hard to beat.
We have another Zoom caller.
It's hard to beat.
Yes, we do. And if I'm not mistaken, that's our buddy Eastvale Joey calling in from Eastvale, California. Joe, I think you're going to have a lot to say to this gentleman over here. Let's hear it, buddy.
Dude, I think I called it last time I was on.
I think you did.
42 to 10 was my prediction. I was pretty close.
Very.
I think it was. What most impressed you about this victory, Joe?
Hands down, I think we dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. The offensive line, I think, gets the game ball this week because they were just dominant. Dallas is decimated on defense, so the O-line did exactly what they needed to do and what they were supposed to do, which is a little different for Detroit historically, when sometimes they play down to their competition. But this time, they played like a championship team does. They did exactly what they're supposed to do. They ran the ball right down the throats when they needed to. They moved the ball around, did what they wanted to do. And offensively, they were just unstoppable.
Yeah.
Joe, let me ask you. I asked Dave this question earlier. What is your thoughts on Aiden Hutchinson could be lost for the year? That's a huge blow, especially going into Vikings next week.
Yeah, there's no doubt, man. That's a huge blow. I don't think there's any question. I'm no doctor, but I watched the replay in slow mo. I think he's going to have surgery, season-ending surgery on that leg, and he's done for the year. So that's going to be an enormous hole to fill, especially since we lost our other edge, a couple weeks ago, and Derek Barnes is gone. So we got some huge holes to fill defensively up front, but like I said, the offense is going to have to carry us, to the promised land if it's going to happen. I said all the way back in the preseason that our season will be determined by who's on the field at the end of the season. And you never know what can happen, but our offense is rolling well. If they can stay injury free, I think they could. It could be a one-sided type of playoff team, to win big games, So,
Do you got a player of the game, Joe?
the offensive line, man. Offensive line dominated today, and they did like I said, they did exactly what they were supposed to do. They spread the ball around to everybody. Offensively, we had Branch had a couple picks that were nice. So I think the offensive line and the defensive line both deserve the game ball today.
I like that. I like that pick of the offensive line.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
O-line.
We love you coming on, buddy.
Yes.
And
Dude, thanks for having me.
Keep up the good work.
Yep.
Appreciate
We always
you.
like your insights, especially from a West Coast Lion fan.
That's right, baby. West Coast. How they do that? How they do that?
Joe throwing up the gang signs here on the. No, I'm just joking. No, I'm just joking, Joe.
Easy.
I'm just joking, Joe. Thanks, Joe, for calling in. All right.
Yes.
We'll see you. Talk to you next week after hopefully another Lion victory against the Vikings.
Hey, next week is the real test. That is the first test for the Lions this regular season. So we'll see how the defense can do against Jefferson and their quarterback, and see if they can shut him down. And if our offensive line can continue to mow people down, then I think we'll be right in there for a close game and maybe a victory.
Yep. All right.
Thanks, Joe. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys.
All right,
Take
Joe.
care.
Yep.
You are watching The Roar Live right here on My Michigan TV, YouTube, Facebook, and beyond. I am Scotty William, and we got Tony Blankenship, and, of course, the agitator himself, Corey Tiez. We want to hear from you. There's the QR code. Give us a call. We've had Dave. We've had Joe. We want to hear from you. We'll also be looking in the chats. So if you're in the Roar chat and you have a comment, we'd love to talk about it. But what I want to talk about is the Aiden Hutchinson sack, which led to an injury that is pretty devastating. And Tony, we talked about it a little bit. I want to kind of get more in depth. He is kind of the heart and soul of that defensive line.
He's the heart and soul of the team in some ways, just with his energy, his leadership, him being a part of the rebuilding of the organization, the way he carried himself and was able to do it before he got to the Lions at Michigan and get them in a place to be Big Ten champs, beat Ohio State, all those things. But definitely the heart and soul of the defense. No doubt about it. It's going to be a tough loss. I think it'll take a few games, and then they'll be able to make the adjustment.
Do you think they look from within to fill that spot? I know for me, with him being such a fantastic defensive lineman, you almost, if you're Brad Holmes, you almost have to look outside the organization. Maybe go out and get a Hassan Reddick, or I would love to see them go out and get Max Crosby from the Raiders, but I think that's a long shot. Is there anybody out there and on a team that's not playing well that you think that they could possibly go out and get? What do you think, Cole?
I don't know, man. This is can be season changing if you don't figure out something. It's going to be tough. I don't know what Brad Holmes has in his bag of tricks, or you guys do have a guy that's willing to make some moves and do things. So we'll see how it goes. But I think this changes a lot in regards to the Lions moving forward. This is colossal. This is big. So we'll see how this works out. And I hate to see this for this kid. But yeah, it's a big deal.
What I really take from this is James Houston's really, even though he was a healthy scratch today, he's going to have to step up. And we seen him in flashes a couple seasons ago with some good sacks. Do you think he could be a viable replacement to give them good production on that defensive end, Tony?
I do. You're going to have to find some support, though. If Max Crosby, to me, just, in comparing what you guys are talking about as far as bringing somebody in, fits the mantra of the Detroit Lions a little different than Hassan Reddick. Mm-hmm. Hassan Reddick is in it. He wants a contract. Mm-hmm. He wants a long-term. He wants guaranteed money.
Yes.
And I think the Lions aren't built that way.
Right.
That's not who they are. That's not the culture. Right. That's not what they're about. Mm-hmm. They're about the team. They're trying to, I think, follow in the footsteps of the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick in some of the ways and how they do things culture-wise. Mm-hmm. I think Crosby would be someone who they could bring in and be obviously high energy, very effective, almost unblockable kind of a guy. Mm-hmm. So,
yeah.
So with an injury like this on the defensive line, obviously with Hutch, how does, as a defensive coordinator, how do you game plan that now?
Well, you're going to have to find ways to. It's a great question. To strengthen to strengthen your defense as a whole. When you have a guy like Aiden Hutchinson, he's able to make plays that aren't called in the defensive playbook.
Right.
Now you're going to have to be even better at your play calling as a defensive coordinator. That's all that's going to happen, guys. I'm just going to be completely transparent with you. The defensive coordinator for the Lions is going to have to be really, really good at the calls that he makes. And he's going to have to be on point, and he's going to have to be able to match what offenses are trying to do to them, because you don't have a guy who's coming off the edge that's going to be so disruptive so consistently as Aiden was for the Lions.
Do you look to maybe an outside linebacker to fill that kind of role?
No.
As a passer? Okay.
No. So you don't change personnel when it comes to, like, putting a different guy down that position. That NFL, that's not how it works. Okay. The guys who are on the roster are going to have to step up, and they're going to have to run the system that they have in play. Mm-hmm. And guys who have not been asked to do things at that level are going to be asked to step up all around, the whole defense. The defensive line as a core are going to have to step up. The linebackers are going to have to play better. The secondary is going to have to play better because they're not going to have the luxury of a guy like that coming off the edge, putting pressure on the quarterback, where you would normally the ball's coming out, a little bit sooner than it likes to come out, and you as a DB or linebacker are able to make some plays that you're able to make because of Aiden. Right. You don't have that luxury at this point. So now you got to be even more disciplined as a group. You got to be even more technique sound, and you got to be even more in a position to where you understand and know that it's a paying attention to detail type of setting for your defense.
Losing a guy like this, they did play pretty heads-up football even after Hutch was out. They still seem to be pretty – I mean, I know Dallas is pretty depleted, but, I mean, they still seem to play pretty good. Is it who needs to step up in that defense, on that defense, or maybe even the defense? Is it a Lee McNeil? Is it a Alex Anzalone? Who needs to step up as a leader? What do you think, Cole?
Yeah, man – the Hutch thing, well, first of all, I think the Lions beat Dallas with D-Law and Micah today. They just looked the part today. Second, the linebackers, I think, you mentioned Anzalone. I still don't – and I give the defense the game ball. That's my game ball, the defense. Dallas scored what, 9 points?
Yep.
Yeah.
Defense gets the game ball to me.
Yep.
Even the corners look good. You know,
Yep.
CD didn't get off. No, so they get the game ball. But now it's the next man up mentality.
Yep.
And I think the linebackers have to come in now and do what they're supposed to do. Be better. You have to be better. Blank mentioned it. You got a game plan now. You don't have that guy that gets this disruptive. Even when he's not getting sacks, he's still getting pressures.
Yep.
So you got to find. I think it's the linebacking core that's going to have to step up and make plays, make a lot of plays. You got a tough opponent next week.
Yeah, I think Aaron Glenn's going to have to do a little bit more blitzing than he likes to do.
Okay.
Because you don't have the pressure off the edges to just send 4 guys.
Yeah.
And just have a 4-man rush. You're going to have to send an extra guy here and there. You got to take some more chances, which puts more pressure on your DBs. So those guys got to play a lot better as well because of it.
Yeah.
You are watching The Roar Live right here on My Michigan TV, Facebook, YouTube, and beyond. You can join us after every Lions game this season on any device. Just install the My Michigan TV app on your smartphone and smart TV, or go to mymichigantv.com. The question of the week: what is your all-time most memorable Cowboys versus Lions moment? Corey, do you have one of those?
I don't.
Not even the Cowboys.
Well,
fake win, phantom win last year.
Well, we won before that and before that and before that. But I don't have like a Lion outstanding moment because they beat them 1 out of 10 today. So I don't really have a.
I do want to say this: the Lions are 2-1 all time in the playoffs when it counts, right? Right, Tony? When it counts,
Yep.
the playoffs are when it counts. The
Absolutely.
Lions have that. But do you have
I think I do. I definitely have a moment. This is when I was we were in college, and I was a Lions fan for sure at this time, and I remember Dallas playing the Detroit Lions in the playoffs, and this was before the Dallas Cowboys went on their run to become Super Bowl champs 3 out of 5 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And Detroit destroyed them in the first round of the playoffs that year. I think it was 1991. We might have scored 50 on Dallas.
Were you still a Lion fan then?
I was at that time. I was a Lions fan. It was in the 90s. We had Barry Sanders. We had a really good football team. We had won a division.
Oh yeah,
and,
the Barry run. That was a good run.
and at that time, I think they scored 50 on Dallas. So that's my moment. But now, I also have to say, after that year, Dallas went on an amazing run and won multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Deshaun Moore on the Roar chat says the pass interference, pick up the flag, the playoff game in 2015. I don't know if I remember that one.
Yep.
You remember that one?
Yep,
What about
I
you,
do.
Tom? Cole?
Yep.
You remember
I remember Dallas won. That's all I remember.
Mary Jones says prayers for Hutch. Of course, there is a
Absolutely.
lot of prayers out there for Hutch. We hope he returns back.
Yes.
Hopefully it's not as bad as what we think.
Yeah.
But hey. Mary Jones also says, hey, Coach, he's the heart and soul of the team. 100%. We get that. But as you teach, next man up, point blank, I live by and I use at my everyday life.
Appreciate that,
Mary
Mary.
Jones.
Yes, I believe in it.
Absolutely.
Leslie Kirkland says, favorite moment would be every Montgomery run. He runs with purpose and strength.
Yes.
And Phil Sherman says, mine was 40 minutes ago. Well, I don't know what that was, but
The game.
the game. All right.
Game itself.
We thank
His
you.
favorite moment
Shout out
was
to Phil for
Shout out to
that.
Phil.
Troy in Dallas.
Love you, bro.
Well, let's get into other teams in the NFC North, shall we, gentlemen?
Yes.
Looking at last week, Green Bay beat the Rams 24-19. We weren't on the air last week because of the Lion bye, but they went into L.A. and won 24-19. Today, Green Bay beat the Cardinals 34-19 in Lambeau. The Rams are, the Green Bay Packers are really going toe-to-toe. I mean, is this surprising to any of you two guys?
No.
What about you?
No, not at all.
I mean, we said that the Green Bay Packers were going to be a team that is going to give the Lions a run for their money, and they're going toe-to-toe with them. Looking at the Vikings last week, the Vikings beat the Jets 23-17. They had the bye week this week, and, of course, a week off to prepare for a surging Lions team. What do you guys think of the Vikings so far this year? 5-0. Go. What do you think?
I said it in the beginning of the year. I said it in preseason. I said they have a very good team. Yeah. They have a very good team. They're very well coached. They have a quarterback, running back, all phases of the game. They're going to be a tough out for the Lions, and the Lions aren't surging. The Lions are in now. They're part of it. So let's not have this mentality that they're in it. They're in it. They're supposed to go to the Super Bowl. Minnesota's going to be a problem. Does this
change your opinion on what you were saying about the Lions earlier?
No, beating a bad team doesn't make you the Super Bowl favorite. They beat a bad team today.
Yeah.
That's not.
But so you're saying every game they've played this year,
the Rams were bad, the Buccaneers were bad, but the Buccaneers beat them. Seattle was bad. This doesn't change anything. They beat a bad team. They dominated them. They were supposed to. I said that Dallas would lose this game. I didn't think in that fashion because they were at home. Thought maybe they'd give it a chance, but Dallas hadn't won on the road. They haven't won at home. But this doesn't change anything. Minnesota's a problem. They're a problem.
What do you think of Minnesota?
So I need the Lions fans to take a step back and kind of realize what's really going on here. Cole made a good point about them playing some teams that weren't really good teams at the time when they played them. The Rams weren't a great team at that time. And the NFL is always evolving. It's always a fluid part of the season. Everything is consistently changing. Tampa Bay is a good football team, though. Coach said they weren't. They're not. They are.
I'm sorry. Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay is a good football team. They are really a good football team.
Yes, they are.
We must understand that the Lions offensively weren't doing much of anything until they played Arizona. And defensively, with Aiden Hutchinson, they were giving up chunks and chunks of yards.
Yes, they were.
Until today.
Yes, they were.
Up until today, their defense were giving up big plays to everyone they played against.
Yeah.
That was a legitimate quarterback, receiver, and receivers tandem.
Yep.
Dallas does not have that. Dallas has not had it all year. And to Corey's point, which is a very good point, they played a really average NFL football team today, and they did what they were supposed to do. They dominated them.
Well, let me ask you something. I'll pose this question to both of you. They did pretty well against CeeDee Lamb, but do you think that's because Dak didn't play well and they didn't have a run game, or did the Lions kind of contain CD the way they should? I mean, there's a All-Pro wide receiver, one of the best in the league.
It's easy to and I can't say easy. It's a lot easier to contain a guy when there's only one guy.
Okay.
Defensively, you can roll your coverage to him. You can double him. They have no one else to throw the football to. They don't have a running game.
No.
They have old running backs. They have unproven running backs. They have a quarterback who does not want to be there anymore, and he showed you guys that today. And they're just not a good offensive football team. And they haven't been all year. Dallas has not been good all year. They beat Pittsburgh, and they still only scored one touchdown in beating Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, kicked 5 field goals and 1 touchdown to beat them.
And I think, in
that game when they lost.
The Lions did what they were supposed to do, took advantage of they had 5 fumbles. They had 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
Who are you going to be in the NFL with 5 turnovers?
No, nobody.
Well, we talked about this even on the Cohen Bro Opinion Show yesterday.
Shout out to Cohen Bro.
The NFL, is it me, or does this just seem like every week is something different? I mean, there's really no consistency other than maybe a couple of teams, but if you even want to say a couple of teams, because the Chiefs have had their problems, the Lions had their problems against the Bucs. You see Buccaneers win today 51-something against the Saints, but they had their problems the week before. Is this something that – are we seeing any dominant football teams? Nobody seems to be running away with anything. What do you guys think?
Mentally, Kansas City's dominant. You're always in the back of your head thinking, can we really beat them? So, yeah, that's just – they're there and everybody else is here. So and Minnesota, but Minnesota still has to prove, even though they're 5-0, they still have to prove that they can continue to stay consistent. Great teams are consistent. You see it all the time. That's why Dallas is not great. That's why the Giants aren't great. That's why they are not consistent. One thing Kansas City is consistent. They're consistently winning. So everybody else has to get to that point. To me, Minnesota still, even being 5-0, Blank.
Yep.
We don't know. Not
yet.
Lions going to They're going to be tough for Minnesota.
Yep.
It's not going to be no walk in the park for Minnesota either.
No.
So I'm just looking for that consistent team, and the only one we have is in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Whether they're winning ugly or not.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at the standings in the AFC, I mean, Chiefs are running away with it, obviously 5-0.
Yeah.
But everybody else is, other than maybe the Browns and the Bengals, are kind of hovering around 500. The Colts are 3-3. The Steelers, they're 4-2. Mm-hmm. So the Raiders, I mean, even the Broncos are 3-3.
Yeah.
Chargers won today, 3-2. Mm-hmm. You're looking at the Dolphins, 2-3. So you're seeing a lot of. Would you say you're seeing a lot of mediocre play so far in the NFL season?
You know, the one thing I can see clearly, the NFL is still the NFL, guys. We can't remember. We can't forget that.
Yes.
It's parity. Parity is a part of it. And when you have that kind of parity, you have talent spread all over the place, and you have these contracts and how things are being done as far as contract-wise, and these coaches who are constantly evolving and changing, you're going to have this type of parity. The other thing is you got to look at the NFL and the history. There has not been an undefeated team in 52 years.
There's a reason for that.
Okay, 1972 Miami Dolphins was the last team to go undefeated.
Yep.
You got to look at that. You got to look at the fact that no one has ever three-peated as a Super Bowl champion.
No one.
So those factors still show us and still take us back to the roots that the NFL is still the NFL.
Yeah.
You still got to go up, show up, and play. Arizona Cardinals look horrible one day, and then they go and they win the next day.
Right.
And
Right.
the Giants look horrible for 3 weeks, and then they win games.
Yeah.
You can lose to anybody on any given day
Right.
in the NFL, and we understand that. The point is, as you guys are mentioning, is you have any form of consistency where you're showing that you can be dominant?
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City is 5-0, but they're not dominant.
Right.
They just have found ways to do what championship organizations do. They win games that they probably should win, and they're winning some they probably shouldn't win because they know how to do it.
They do. Mental
So
edge.
we'll see what happens. It's a long season. We got a lot of football left. Corey made a great point about Minnesota and Detroit. It's going to be a great football game to watch and see.
Roar Live fans, this show is all about you. We want to hear and see you. So get your Zoom on and join us live right now. It is so easy to do. All you got to do is scan the QR code on the screen and follow the links and get in on the discussion like Dave and Joey from Eastvale. And Alonzo Bates says Detroit versus everybody. A former player of yours, Juan Doe.
Yeah.
He says, you coached me at Denby.
Man, big fella.
Yeah.
Much love for you, man. Thanks for sharing.
Keith Bates said, great show. Thanks, Keith. We
Thanks,
really
Keith.
appreciate
Bingo.
that.
Thanks, Keith.
My man.
Really appreciate you tuning in tonight.
Big bro.
Another team that, I might have to eat my words a little bit. I know before we decided to sit down here in these chairs, I made a comment of Caleb Williams. I'm still not sold on Caleb Williams, but the Bears keep chugging along. The Bears last week beat the Panthers, which not a great team, but they beat them 36-10. The Bears also won this week against a not so good Jaguars team, 35-16. He looked good today. Caleb Williams looked good today. I'll admit it. I'll admit when I was wrong. I'm wrong, but I don't know if I'm still sold on Caleb Williams. I guess we'll see how the season plays out. You played two bad teams, Jaguars and Panthers, but like you did say, Tony, and Corey said the same thing. These are the teams that you have to beat.
Yeah.
To stay in the running. What do you think about Caleb? Cone?
Well, I like the kid. I think he has a special something unique about him. And the win today, they didn't muddle around with the Jaguars. They took care of business. So that's the difference. You don't muddle around the way the Lions did. They didn't muddle around with Dallas. They just won the game. You know what I'm saying? Caleb Williams is going to be an issue.
Yes.
He's getting better each week. I don't care who's out there. He's getting better each week. They're all professionals.
Yep.
The kid is scrambling. He looked like Fran Tarkenton today.
Yeah.
Like this guy has it, and I'm not saying they're going to just sweep the Lions, but it's going to be a tough out. It's going to be a tough out with Chicago.
Well, I know we talked about how all these teams here in the NFC North we're going to give the Lions trouble, and they're all keeping up win-wise. You see here, Vikings 5-0, Lions 4-1, Chicago and Green Bay 4-2. This is looking to be the tightest division.
Well, it's the
and
best.
the best division.
It's the best division. It's no longer the AFC North. This is the best division in football. And like yesterday, this division, a la Tigers, there's no room for error. There's no room for error in this division. Anybody can win this division as of right now.
What do you think, Tony?
I agree. It's not a surprise to me at all looking at this. Minnesota, obviously, in some people's eyes, because they're undefeated, and with them being 5-0 at this point, but we knew they were going to be a good football team.
Yes.
We didn't know they would be 5-0 at this particular point, but it is the best conference in the NFL. I truly believe that 3 out of the 4 teams will make the playoffs, and possibly 4, the way the NFC is set up, with the Rams having the problems that they're having, New Orleans having the problems that they're having, not knowing what Atlanta will be. It's very interesting to see what can happen in the NFC as a whole, because all 4 of these teams, though they do have to play each other twice, they could, obviously beat each other up, but still beat everybody else and get into the playoffs.
Right.
And I think that's a very, very true possibility.
Yep.
I'm very impressed with Chicago and the coaching staff today when I watched that game, and how well they were able to put Caleb in position to be successful as a quarterback. It's not just him being a rookie. It's being able to make sure he's comfortable in what they want him to do, and he was, and being able to have the weapons around him so he can get the ball to these guys so they can make plays.
Yep.
And he was able to do that today at a very high level. We know what Green Bay brings. We know what the Lions are and who they are, and now we're going to find out what Minnesota is really all about.
Yep.
Well, gentlemen, looking at the preview for next week, we have the Detroit Lions heading into Minnesota to take on the 5-0 Vikings. What are the Lions going to have to do, Tony, to slow the Vikings down without Aiden Hutchinson?
You got to make them one-dimensional. You can't let them be able to do what the Lions are able to do to people, which is run the football and be able to come off play action and throw it all over the field and have success in that manner. Minnesota has the best football player in the NFL on their roster, in Justin Jefferson. And that's my opinion, and I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to stand by it. I think that young man is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the Lions are going to have to deal with him, but they got so many weapons besides him.
So many.
That the Lions are going to have to deal with. And not having Aiden to put that pressure on the quarterback and in that system, that could be a problem. That's why I said those other guys are going to have to step up, next man up. As Mary mentioned, as others have mentioned, you're going to have to step up and play at an elite level. You're NFL players.
Yep.
You're expected to play at an elite level. So the Lions are going to have to be able to do that as a team defense collectively.
Yep. Yeah.
What do you think, Co?
Don't quit. Don't quit doing what you're doing. Do the same thing you did this week. Stop the run, because if you don't, it's going to be a long day. They have to stop Minnesota's run game. Put some pressure on the quarterback, but stop the run. Play the same way you did this week.
I'll be honest with you. This game kind of scares me coming up.
It should.
Because, you're coming off of a blowout, but yet you're coming off of losing your best defensive lineman. You hate to say it, but the Lions, if they don't put up the run the way they do, you would hope the Lions don't get blown out next week.
Well, and to piggyback
and I
off
hate
that,
to say that,
yeah.
but, there's a possibility of that.
That North, everybody in that North has a good defense.
Yes. Chicago's is really underrated.
Yeah. Very good defense.
Very underrated. And Minnesota's is phenomenal.
Yes. Very good defense. So.
And Green Bay's is decent. They got to work on some things.
Yeah.
Lions fans, you can get in on the action too. Scan the QR code on the screen, follow the links, or just type your comments or questions into the YouTube or Facebook chat. Jared or David in the Roar Live control room would love to pass it along to us. Just like Alfie Birch says, let's go T-Blank.
My brother Alfie, my Michigan brother, teammate, go blue, man. Love
Sonia
you, bro.
Jackson says, great show.
Thank you,
We
Sonia.
appreciate all of you for listening.
Thank you, Sonia.
Appreciate you, Miss Jackson.
Well, let me ask you something, guys. Before we close this out tonight, what is the team, other than the Chiefs, that is really going to give the NFL a run for their money to the Super Bowl? I mean, we know the Chiefs. Is there another team out there that you're seeing? I mean, nobody's really running away with it in the AFC. Bills kind of look
Too inconsistent. Too inconsistent. Poor coaching. Too inconsistent. I'm going to go with Minnesota. If we had to stop everything right now, it's Minnesota.
Minnesota.
They're balanced all throughout.
How do you feel about the Commanders?
They got. Don't forget about them, and don't act like because they lost today to Baltimore, 27-20, that
That's a law. Yeah, that's okay.
That's
yeah.
a legitimate.
Yeah, that's yeah.
That young man is the real deal playing quarterback. That football team is a good football team. They'll have to be reckoned with, and they'll probably win the NFC East.
Yeah.
So,
Agree.
does the Ravens, do they scare you at all? I mean, you see Derrick Henry went off today. Lamar's actually, obviously the guy there. Does the Ravens scare you at all, AFC-wise?
The Ravens are a really good football team. I'm not scared of the Ravens in any capacity because I still think defensively they got some holes they got to fill in the secondary. They still don't do a great job defending the pass. They got the best running back in the NFL, probably the only running back in the NFL.
Right.
That's an elite runner, and he's like LeBron. He's an old guy out here killing these young guys now. I'm gonna tell you guys though, don't forget about San Francisco, and I'm telling you, this thing is really about survival of the fittest. And we talk about war of attrition, survival of the fittest. They're gonna get a lot of guys coming back.
Sure.
And when guys are playing towards the end of the year and a lot of guys are banged up and you're healthy and you're able to play at a higher level because you're feeling better,
That's an advantage.
that's dangerous, man. That's a huge advantage. Very good point, Corey. Look, watch out for San Fran when they start getting these guys back and they're healthy because they got to – Purdy's playing really, really well. They have a really good system. They're really consistent in what they do. They got a great coaching staff. Don't forget about San Francisco.
Yeah, I just did what you said not to do. I forgot about them. I think Ravens are mentally blocked until they prove otherwise. I think it's just a Kansas City thing over there, period, end of story. Got the best player, I think, in football. It was Mahomes. But I know what you're saying with Jefferson. Yeah, Ravens are mentally blocked until they prove otherwise. But San Francisco, good point, Blank.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah, San Francisco, 3-3 after 6 weeks, and they haven't had Christian McCaffrey out of the field. Deebo Samuels has been dinged up.
He's back. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's a team that could be get their players back at the right time, the end of the season, and make a run, kind of like our Detroit Lions made a run this year.
Absolutely.
At the right time.
And the difference between the Detroit Lions and San Francisco is the heart of your team is out for the season. The heart of their team, the running back, and McCaffrey is possibly going to be coming back, and a few of those other guys will be coming back. So that's a big difference. Aiden won't be coming back this season.
Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, listen. Any other comments you want to make before we take off?
I do. I really want to send out prayers and best wishes to Hutch and his family. That was bad. That's not something that you ever want to see. You want him out there competing because he makes such a huge difference for him. I hope the kid, recovers fast, and he's monumental to the Lions. And I'm just hoping you don't see a drop off because, like Blank said, I think he mentioned it early, that affects the entire Ford Field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So prayers to Hutch, his family, and speedy recovery to him.
Yeah.
What about you?
Again, I want to just add to that and say I want to send prayers to Hutch, to Aiden, and to Chris, who's a teammate of mine at Michigan. I know this is a tough time to his family, his wife, and that's a hard thing to watch. Yeah. Looking at the play itself, for a lot of you fans, it looked like just a regular football play. Like his leg, he did a leg swipe where he came and his leg hit the turf, came underneath. I don't know if anybody hit him or anything hit the leg. It looked like it may have been the tibular fibula area. I'm not a doctor. I'm not totally sure. I thought I did see something pretty gruesome, though, when we were looking at it, we were watching it. But I send prayers. I don't ever want to see that happen. He is the heart of the Detroit Lions, bar none. There's nothing to discuss when it comes to that. Yeah. And it will have an impact. But you'll get a chance to see as well what this group is made of from this point on.
Yeah. Well said.
You have been watching the Roar Live right here on My Michigan TV. If you enjoy the show, we would love for you to hit that like button and subscribe on whatever your favorite platform is that you're watching on. If you enjoy other Detroit sports like the Tigers, Red Wings, Pistons, or maybe you're into music, movies, current events, or enjoy great interviews from leaders and figureheads in and about the community, we invite you to listen to Detroit's Talk Variety, the Co and Bro Opinion Show, each and every week on your favorite podcasting platform. Yes. Well, for Michigan High School Hall of Fame head coach Tony Blankenship and the agitator himself, Corey Tiez, along with Jared Clark and David White in the Roar control room, I'm the outsider, Scotty William. Join us next week directly after the NFC North showdown between the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.